So we're cranking along.
Congratulations.
It's coming along.
Congratulations. So, hey, welcome, right, to how to kick the finish line in the fourth Q with Bill Kenny,
That
right? So everybody's was asking me like, what in the world is fourth Q? Well, fourth Q is fourth quarter. Hello, because we all know the fourth quarter will really pass by really quickly. And last week, Kim, when we talked about the 7 points, do you want to kind of just give a refresher of what the 7 points were, Kim? Because at least, our audience, she's like,
I knew you were going to ask me, and I just, okay, yes, I will be happy to do that.
she's like, you put me
I
on the
just
spot again?
got rid of that sheet. I did. Oh, man, technology. For all of you guys who don't know, I am successful despite myself, and I'm living proof that if I can do it, you can do it. So here, and what I know well is how to make the money and marketing happen. So what we talked about was 7 ways, 7 plans, 7 action steps that you should be doing to make your fourth quarter the best quarter ever. The first one is to start now. Start your planning now. It's not too early. And what do we mean by that? We mean know who you want to sell to in the fourth quarter. Some of our businesses, our customers change seasonally.
Yep.
Whether it's seasonally, or occasions. So the people you're selling to right now may or may not be the people you're selling to in the fourth quarter. So know who you're selling to and know what they want to buy. One of the big, Bill, you've been in sales a long time. I always hear, oh, in the summer, no one's buying because it's summer. I hear in the fourth quarter, no one's buying because it's Christmas, Hanukkah. They're just not doing that.
It was a full moon this week, right? People don't buy with full moons.
The moon is in
January,
retrograde.
They don't buy because they've got holiday. I'm like, when does anybody pay their bills? I don't know.
Right.
But reasons to buy do change. So we gave some examples. My clients, some of my corporate clients, they know our coaches and consultants raise their prices every year. Well, they get to buy, if they know they're going to work with you next year, they can buy a bulk of time for the next year at this year's prices. That created a $25,000 bump one year for me by doing that.
Wow. Awesome.
Other businesses, they run on budgets and they have this use it or lose it policy. So they're finding things that they can legitimately use that they have to buy now. That's another way to position something for that opportunity. They know they need it, but they might need it for later, but they have to buy it now. I also talked about if you're in service or retail, don't overlook the last minute loosies. The people who wait until 48 hours before they need something. Holiday shoppers, people, no one buys, but I see them all filled Christmas Eve of people shopping. I talked about how I did that in Mary Kay. I used to take all my packaged inventory that I didn't sell. I would go to all the service mechanics and to go all the plumbers, and I'd say, hey guys, have you shopped for your honeys yet? And they're like, no. Come here, I've got goodies in the back already wrapped. And they're like, oh, hallelujah. And I come home with lots of money. So those are last minute loosies. Also think about, Zeph talked about your logistics. You have all these great ideas, it sounds great, but if you don't put it on a calendar, because there's the sales that happen in the fourth quarter, but what about the marketing? What about the planning? What about the creating the product? She says, if you don't put on a calendar now, you're going to show up the day you want to launch and throw up or be freaked out because you got nothing to do. So those are just a few of the tips, but we have all of them on our website, and I know we don't have the Facebook site anymore,
Yes.
do we, Zeph?
Yes, we do. So
Okay.
basically, y'all can just go to our Facebook, group, and I'll put in all that information shortly in the live chat. But what I want to say is, one of the things that we talked about a lot is we all have to have a plan. So, Bill, let me ask you this. We're almost to the midpoint. When I say midpoint, it's June, people. Before we know it,
We're past the midpoint.
Yeah,
we're
we're past
we're
it.
Close to the 7th month.
Exactly.
Yes,
Not only
yes.
that, I think past June, everything seems like it'll just like go boom, boom, boom,
Yes.
boom, you know? And when we don't plan, that's when we all like hyperventilate, because before we know it, it's already October. And let me ask you this, what advice would you give someone who really wants to finish the year strong? Because that's a very important question.
Sure. So I think the first thing is, again, because we're near the midpoint, it's always a good time to take stock of sort of what you've done, what's worked, what hasn't worked.
Right.
But as we approach the midpoint, it's really a perfect time. We've now had 6 months of 2016.
Yep.
And so what have your results been like? And again, what's worked well, what hasn't? Is there some shift you should make in terms of your objectives for the year? Maybe you've overachieved and you can set the bar a little bit higher. Maybe things haven't gone quite as well and you need to have a more realistic goal. But ultimately, you know, I think, at least for me anyway, part of being successful is having realistic goals, and that keeps me motivated. And so if you need to sort of adjust what you're aiming at, if you can stretch a little bit further, then set the bar out a little further. If you can't, then either keep it where it is, retreat just a little bit. But ultimately, you want to be able to look at this next 6 months with a refreshed plan. It may be exactly the same as what you were doing, you know, sort of in the first half of the year. It may be somewhat augmented based on what you learned. Maybe you've even expanded, maybe you've added staff. You know, I think there are all sorts of variables that can add into both what goals you might set and any alterations you might do in terms of how you might get there. Maybe you found some really good resources that have amplified your ability to either market or sell, and you know, adding those to the plan and making sure that you know, you're able to execute. Because you know, in the end, it's so much of this is attitude. Yeah, I mean, if you've got the right plan, staying motivated. You know, just one example of that. You know, the best. You know, I think most salespeople that I see don't prioritize the right things, and so what I mean by that is, you know, if you know, you're, in order to sell, you need to meet with people, then that means you need to have a certain number of customer contacts per day to create the number of appointments that will create that outcome. And more often than not, I see salespeople not prioritizing making those customer contacts. I mean, picking up the phone and calling people and setting appointments and causing those appointments to happen. And, you know, in the end, you know, sales is a numbers game. And in order to, you know, create that output, in other words, that sales number you want, it's really pretty simple. You have to figure out how many calls creates how many meetings creates how many proposals creates how many sales.
That sounds like
know,
me having a process.
That formula.
Yeah, well, no, he's right, Zeph, because a lot of, especially the smaller business people or the, you know, the solopreneurs, you know, we talk about the sexy stuff, Zeph. You know, oh, I've got to be on social media. Oh, I've got to do this. Oh, I've got to be on Blab. And yes, you do. However, what creates your paycheck? And Bill's absolutely right. Like, you know, for me, I know my formula. If I see, it doesn't have to be all business related. I know if I actually sit in front of 30 people a month, I don't have to worry. I never know who's going to say yes or what it's going to create. But I know if I start getting nervous about my numbers or my situation, I'm like, how many people did I meet with this month? And then I go, and I just shut it down. I look in the mirror and go, zip, I don't want to see it. Go do it. If it doesn't work out, I'm be waiting right here.
That's so true.
So I think, to your point, you have to know that number, and you have to manage yourself to that number. And so each week, you know, okay, so if it's 30 a month, then that's 8 a week, right? And so we know if we're not doing 8 a week, and that ends up being, let's say we're going to take Fridays for office work, then it's 2 a day. So we should set 2 and go on 2 a day. It's that simple.
One of the biggest things, I think, the challenge of, you know, setting these goals and executing them is I think sometimes when we talk about the mindset also, there's also people who sets limits on themselves for whatever reason, you know. So what do you feel is causing that limiting belief, Bill? That's a very important thing.
Yeah, no, I think so. So, I think there can be a variety of things. Kim mentioned folks that are solopreneurs or single shingles. I think, anyone that is sort of in that contractor mode,
Yes.
um, can, and not to say small and mid-sized businesses don't have the same problem, but when you're busy, when your sort of business is good, you tend to take your foot off the pedal, and you go down to one appointment a day or no appointments a day that are business development oriented. You stop paying yourself essentially, and then gosh, 3 or 4 or 5 months or 6 months later, you go, wow, it's really quiet in here. What's going on? What happened? And so this stuff's real easy to predict, and we maybe the easiest way to think of it is we get what we do, and so if we don't do these activities, then we shouldn't expect the results that come with them. And so I think it's really about creating balance in your day, creating balance in your week in terms of allocating enough time to make sure that, again, that as Kim said, the social media stuff's important, or, posting the video and all that stuff's important. But, again, boil it down. I mean, that stuff is to create appointments. It's part of your inbound marketing strategy. And so in the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what creates your appointments. If you have to pick up the phone and create appointments, then, you need to create 2 a day. Using Kim's sort of, I need 30 a month, you need to create 2 a day and go on 2 a day. It's just totally simple math.
And since when I look at anything in the day and I can get overwhelmed looking at 5 minutes from now, I do the month thing I'm like Bill, I hold myself accountable, but like some days it's just impossible. But by the end of the week, if you don't have something held, or more importantly, something booked for the next week, you got to sit down with yourself. Because I come from a place, you guys think I joke, but Zeph has seen it. I have more issues than tissues. I have more drama than Kim Kardashian. My life could be such a reality show right now with all the things on my plate. And Bill, you've gone through it. You've had personal issues. And some days you're just like, I can't survive my life. Never mind, I have to do 2 a day. So the mindset that we talk about here, we do in general, and then we get to the nitty gritty of what Bill's saying, you got to show up to the work, is if you don't put yourself first, yeah, you got a business, yeah, you got kids, yeah, you got a spouse. If you can't take the time to put energy in this vessel, okay, you got a problem. And we make it really complicated, but I'll put it in this vein to make it like that. Would you ever think to go into your car with an empty tank? Would you ever go into your car with an empty tank thinking you're getting from New York to Hartford with an empty tank of gas? Right? You're like, Kim, come on. Really? But that's what we do to ourselves. We wake up in the morning, we don't eat breakfast. We wake up in the morning, we don't take time to just focus our mind, or like I say, do something fun first. The rest of the day is going to suck maybe, but at least you have that 15 minutes of joy. You don't show up to the people, even for 5 minutes in your life that's important to you. No, I'm not going to do that. But you think you're going to show up to 2 a day. Really? Really? No. So sometimes you have to go so far back to the extreme self-care part. And what I find is when you do that, the beautiful thing is the phone rings to me. And I'm like, if the phone rings, I'll be there. I don't care if I'm in the shower. I'll get dressed. But you start creating opportunities. You end up going to a business after hours, or you have that meeting and it turns to be the visionary meeting of your dreams, and they're opening up total channels that you never, just because you took the time to put your real priorities in order. So that's how I show up to the crazy thing called my life. If anybody of you can relate to that.
We all can relate to that. Not eating breakfast, you know that, right, Kim? Because I sometimes go till 3 afternoon, like, why is my stomach singing?
It's like 4 o'clock. Why don't I feel good? But here's the amazing part. You can be like in snow blindness right now, like Bill's going. You didn't plant your seeds, and now you got no garden. I used to hyperventilate because that used to happen to me a lot. And I'm like, I'm not going to eat for 3 months. I mean, I have it here but what's going to go on? No. When you go back to the principles that I just said, don't freak out, because you can. If you live on a 2-story house, you might want to think to take a really big jump. But if you go back and reset yourself, I promise you, the phone's going to ring. You're going to be inspired to go out to a business networking thing. You're going to be motivated and inspired to call a specific person at a specific time. And all you have to really say is, I'm available. I'm available. I screwed up, but I'm available for an opportunity right now. Happens all the time.
Absolutely.
All the time. So
Absolutely.
if you are one of those people who kind of lost the reins, come back. And if you do it now and you do what Bill's saying, 2 a day, oh, your fourth quarter is going to be amazing. It's going to be like, oh my God, can we extend the walls?
Yay, so. Right? One more thing on that topic, of like, if you lost your reins, come back. It's not always easy for many people, right, Bill? Because sometimes you're like, okay, I need to be motivated. But you know what? Nobody can motivate or inspire ourselves except us, right? We have to pick ourselves up. So how do you do it? You have 2 businesses. And, I'm sure, if you tell me you don't have any challenging day, I'm going to say, I'm going to call out. I mean, we're all human, right? So how do you do it? I mean, how do you stay motivated? How do you bring yourself back to go like, hello, this needs to be taken care of. Let's just power through this. What are some of your tips and tricks of your own business?
Yeah, I think my day, I organize my day pretty much exactly the same as long as I control the day and it's not sort of set by a client priority. But, first is exercise. Then is the phone calls. I do those first because I know if I do those, then the rest, because that's the part I like least. It's sort of like the broccoli of my day. And if I do those, then the rest of the day is fun. I get to meet with clients. I get to work on interesting projects and things like that. But if I sort of exit sort of 10 a.m. having set my 2 or 3 appointments, whatever my goal is, then I'm good. And I don't care when those appointments are set for. It doesn't matter because I know they'll eventually come. And if I do that every day, then I'll generally have, sort of, 1 to 3 or 4 appointments a day. And so, yeah, no, my days, again, kind of in a normal day is pretty straightforward. And, I think to Kim's point, you have to take time for yourself. If your body isn't ready, there's not much else that you can do. You're never going to perform, whether it's for your family, whether it's for your business or yourself, adequately. And I'll tell you, it's good to get a sweat going early. It motivates you. But you're exactly right. No one else can cause you to do it. If you don't want to put it on every morning, then
no one else is going to do it for you.
Yeah.
No. Have you won the lottery? Is that a strategy? I'm not sure hope is a strategy here. So if hope isn't a strategy, then we better pick something else.
And just for those who are watching, just a quick recap. You're watching, today's show of how to kick it to the finish line in the fourth quarter with Bill Kenny from Test My Pitch. And we did a topic last week which was 7 must-have marketing plans to the fourth quarter success. And Kim earlier had actually just went through all that 7. But we're in this point of conversation. We're talking about how do you motivate yourself, because that's some of the things that we have to do ourselves. Like, there's no process to it. You just got to do it, right? Because you got to pick yourself up. And if you find yourself difficult doing that, I think an accountability partner would be great. Could be, a JV partner, a affiliate partner, whoever that keeps you accountable. But one of the big things, I think, Kim, we talked about this, was having a plan to begin with, right?
Yes. And Bill's great. Bill is the truest sense of an entrepreneur. He knows how to start companies, and he's really good at knowing when to let go and let people take it, and grow it with him. And that's where I think we get hung up. We try to do everything ourselves, Zeph, and you're saying there's lots of logistics. So Bill, from the point of marketing, people are excited. They maybe have great momentum. They want to continue it. They might be feeling like, oh my God, it's the middle of the year. What do I do? I didn't really have a great, I really am like a last minute. I'm showing up to the dance late. What are some of your best strategies that people, if they're motivated, let's assume they're self-motivating, they're going to do everything we just said. Where do you think they should be spending their most time right now if they want to really create a rockin' fourth quarter?
I think you want to think about, I mean, there are a lot of strategies around programming and pricing. So there may be a way to create a third and fourth quarter incentive for your customers. I think that's one thing to look at, is how do you sort of package what you're doing in a way that incents closing. In one business that I was involved in, we used to call it SUI pricing, or in other words, startup incentive pricing. And we just had a way of packaging things that cause people to make faster decisions. Mm-hmm. And so I think, so then I think also thinking about who, it may not be early adopters, but who would be lower hanging fruit for what you're selling. So think about who the folks are that are going to be more predisposed to buying. And one of the things that, as we get into a conversation like this, and I think I often find that people don't understand or don't well define what a prospect is. And so, and this is really important in terms of when you're starting to think about strategy in faster closing. So I've learned, and we probably all have different rules, but what I've learned is that a prospect has to say yes or check these three boxes. They have to have a need, they have to have money, and they have to have urgency. And the easiest way to think of it is need, money, now. And if they have a need and money but don't have urgency, they're not a prospect right now. If they have a need and urgency but not the money, they're not a prospect right now. So you have to be able to.
I like that.
You have to be able to look at your pool of prospects or suspects maybe, right? And be able to separate the people that are true prospects from those that are maybe future prospects or suspects right now. And so you want to spend your time efficiently so that you're, really aiming at the folks that are going to be more likely to close quickly. And I think having, ultimately having honest conversations with folks in terms of, where they are. And, you've said you're interested in what we're talking about in going forward, but we seem to be not actually executing here. Is this something we'll be able to get moving on this month or this week? If not, when do you think it would be appropriate? And again, if you've got a good enough pipeline, you really don't care when people close. The goal is that people are always closing, right? So that if you've got a rich enough pipeline, then you get in this sort of looking zone for any given suspect at their point in time. And but I think being able to separate out the folks that are suspects from those that are prospects can really help you be much more efficient in how you spend your time.
It's funny you used those two words we used last week, right, Kim? Because if I look at our notes right correctly, last week we talked about prospects and pipelines, and then knowing your audience, which are kind of two important things to know when you plan for your fourth quarter success. Because one of the things is that we don't think about that often. We're only thinking about the numbers, and we're not paying attention to the people we're going to, talk to. And the other part I love about what you just said just now was the fact that, can you please execute, right? You've done all your pipeline.
Yeah, but also too, why don't we execute? Because I think the common mistake is, and Bill, I think it would be a great segue for you in your current business. People don't know who they are and what they do and to whom. So, and that I find, even me, like, Jeff, you've been helping me rediscover my website, and anybody who experiences me knows what I do. If you can't be with me, then fine, I'm not your market. Fine. But now it's like I got to put on a website. I'm like, how do I explain me to somebody who's never met me? But but if you want to, and like our goal is to grow the business beyond me, you got to do that. And we're very much at Success Being. I've been a solopreneur. I'm proud to say that I did it purposely. I could only handle me, myself, and I at the time. But if we're going to call ourselves business owners, even if it's, and that's what I love about Blab and the online technology these days, If you can't deal with more than me, myself, and I, you don't have to, at least not up close. You can have, I have an assistant in Texas, and you can sell online. So we have a lot more opportunities than when I started my business. But if you don't have that plan or that intention, when you get older or when you get tired, you're going to see your business go like this. And, you know, we're all getting older and we all want to go, or we want to go enjoy our lives. So creating a passive or residual aspect to our business is really key. But we're talking about the pipeline. So Bill, I'm kind of pushing it back to you since you're our guest speaker. Talk about the importance of being able to tell people who you are and why should they care.
Yeah, so I think you're right. I mean, you know, as you know, we met back when I think we were on our first business at that time. It was called Test My Pitch. Or I'm sorry, it was called the Small Business Network.
Yeah.
I don't know where I am. But,
you're in the now, Bill. I'm
Yeah.
not going to go back too many years. It's okay.
Yeah, well, I lost my hair, so that's really an indicator. But so that was a business networking organization. We had over 100 business owners that were involved. And, you know, that's where the idea for our current business came. It was really seeing how challenged people were at communicating their value proposition, being able to, you know, stand with another business owner or professional and to be able to tell them what you do and who you're hoping to meet and all those things. And so, yeah, no, I think it's, and oral communication, I think, is a challenge for a couple of reasons. One is it's, you know, are our words sort of resonating? Are they words that sort of, you know, does it build the same picture in your head as it has in mine as I communicate? I think is one challenge. You know, the other is that, you know, it's also a performance. And, you know, so it's, you know, it's, we have to say it in a way.
Does your energy translate? Does it connect?
Exactly.
People get up there and like, hello, my name is.
Well, or they read, or any of those types of things. And you know,
yeah.
So you're assessing who are they, and is it someone actually I want to spend any time with? I mean, I think those are all the, you know, key variables. So it's, you know, it's part performance. So it's both form and substance, I guess, maybe the easiest way to put it. And so it's not just about having a good script. It's ultimately about having a way to deliver it. And I would add to that, you know, as we get sort of more into this and really, because we're on, you know, a whole bunch of college campuses, we're in a whole bunch of business accelerators and incubators and some corporations, and probably the biggest gap that communicators have today, and we're all communicators, so the biggest gap we have isn't our ability to articulate a message, it's our empathy and ability to listen to other people. So it's and this is a hypothesis, we're working on this, but you know, hear me out. So if we don't understand our audience well, then how do we hope to give them language and a message that is relevant and important to them? And I think that's the, you know, in the end, that empathy and the ability to ask good questions. And, you know, as we're on college campuses, kids have no clue how to ask good questions. They don't express any interest in the world around them. And so it's, you know, I think.
But yeah, not in the way that we're used to. If you text them the question, they'll be able to give you a slew of answers. But yeah, it's foreign to them. What we're doing right now is very foreign.
Yep.
Go to an airport and sit next to a millennial. They will never look up at you. They will never ask you a question. Sit on an airplane with a millennial or on a bus, and they'll never interact with you in any way other than a grunt maybe on the way in or the way out. And so, you know, it's that interpersonal stuff that allows us to begin sort of, you know, I think when we can get a message right for one person, it begins getting right for other people. And so the more people we listen to, the more, you know, and when we can begin sort of understanding viewpoints, understanding needs, challenges, all those things, you know, that can transfer to other conversations. Obviously, we don't want to assume or project sort of needs or wants onto any one person, but it does allow us to begin sort of having sort of
it allows the
almost a wrap.
Yeah, I call it, guys, putting out a signal. Like when in the beginning, if you have no prospects or you're a new business or you're a new market, you really don't know unless you have like tens of thousands of dollars and you want to do a focus group or marketing that way. But if you sit and try to imagine yourself in your, your future prospect's shoes, you'll intuitively get an impression of what they might want. And just let's say you don't know who has this need, but you have a passion to fulfill this need. Just by writing it down, or saying, hey, anybody out there, I'm ready for this, it kind of sends a signal, an energy frequency to all the people having that issue. And they don't know why, but they're just feeling drawn to do certain things or go certain places at certain times, and boom, there you are. Or there is your ad, or there you are on Blab, or they bump into you at the airport and they actually pick up their phone and go, oh, hello, how are you? And it's the best darn thing they ever did. But one of the things, Bill, and you can maybe chime in on how you do it, is we're encouraging people when they want to take a step up or they want to continue the momentum. Zeph is huge. She's always about plan. Like, let's have something written, people. Our co-associate, Kenya, who's really like Miss Goddess of the technology. I call it Goddess of the geeks. She goes, yeah, it's really complicated, and she puts in front of her face a piece of paper. She's like, it's really challenging, guys.
Yeah.
What are your tips when you started? You are really great. I've watched you over the years. You come up with a concept, you launch it off to the ground, you get people around it. How do you do that? How do you go from nothing to something the way you do, successfully over and over and over again? What's your process without giving away trade secrets?
Yeah, no. There are a bunch of really good books on the concept now. There's one called Lean Startup. It's written by Eric Ries. That, for those that are interested, you can go well beyond what I'm going to say. But ultimately, I think you want to test your idea. So, any business idea that you have is a hypothesis. It is. We have this assumption that we make about a market opportunity or a need that our customer might have, and I think the sort of old way that we would sort of go forward on that is we would go and build the software to solve the problem, or we'd go and build some sort of spend time and money down in the basement, building Frankenstein,
building the perfect thing.
Yeah, exactly. And then and we all have friends like this. I'll tell you, I have friends that are just stuck on start, right? They're
yes,
you won't believe it. Yes. In 2017, this thing is going to launch. It's going to be unbelievable. And then they launch it, of course, after all this blood, sweat, and tears and their money, and they've double mortgaged their house, and they launch it, and no one wants it. It's a solution looking for a problem. And so what you want to do is whatever business idea you have is a hypothesis. And so you want to validate that is actually true. And so the easiest thing to do is and maybe to use an example of a business, a really successful business, most of us know that followed this actually really well. Dropbox is a great example. So they not only launched their business by doing this, but they actually got millions of dollars of funding, and they didn't code anything. They actually started with a drawing, and they went to people and they said, imagine this is your home screen. Imagine being able to drop and drag files onto the web and be able to transfer large files to other people really easily. And is that something that would be valuable for you? Wow, what would you pay for that kind of service? And they actually, it's called product market fit. And so they actually went through a process of customer discovery. You can get people to pre-buy. That's what kind of Kickstarter is a good example of the manifestation of this idea. But you don't build the product before you go into Kickstarter. Essentially, on Kickstarter, you're selling the dream of a product. You've got pretty pictures, you got a video. It may be the easiest way to think of it. I'm old, right? And so I remember Franklin Mint coins, right? So when I was a kid, there were these full-page ads in the newspaper for Franklin Mint coins, and they were commemorative coins. The funny thing was, at the bottom of the ad, they had the phone number, and you mail in to order these things, and they say allow 6 to 8 weeks for delivery.
Because they're custom make,
They hadn't made anything yet. The only thing so all they had paid for was an ad. They hadn't paid for molds. They hadn't paid for production. There was nothing in the warehouse. And so all they had to do is, essentially, because newspaper ads, you know in a week what you're going to get for return on that, probably within a day and or two. And then, from there, okay, are we going to build this or not build this? Are we going to give the money back, or are we going to go ahead and make this? That's the whole process of doing what's called a minimally viable product, or an MVP. And that's what allows you to sort of launch new ideas by using a lot less resource, a lot less time, a lot less money, and to do it in a much safer way, and one where you actually have customers waiting for it. And there's a guy who refers to this as you want customers to view your product like heroin. You've now hooked them, right, by the story and by the sort of the way you've enrolled them, so that they have to have it, and they actually are to become dependent on it. Not that we want to sell heroin. That's not the business model we're going for.
We got it.
It's just a metaphor.
That's a metaphor.
But the idea being that we want that kind of demand, and you can assure that with no money spent. You can draw a picture. Does this sound like something you might want? And let's talk through your problem. And customer discovery is much more about the customer telling you about their problem, and you sort of, while you're there, sort of adjusting the solution so that, gosh, if we could add this feature, would that take care of what you need there? And you go, okay, great. And so they're helping you map it out so that you end up with a much better solution. The programmers are much happier. The people building this stuff are much happier, and ultimately you make money quicker.
That's awesome. And there's so much that we can talk about, and we're about 20 minutes away, but I just want to read out one question that we have from Ellis and Jose, who's in the live chat right now. His question is, would you agree with the following? When they don't execute it, it may mean there is a lack of trust. He says, I didn't communicate well. If there is lack of urgency, means I didn't qualify my lead thoroughly. Do you want to address that, Bill?
Yeah, so sure. I think there can be a variety of reasons, as you say, lack of trust, lack of urgency, and so on, in terms of why people don't buy. And I think, ultimately asking your customer, is there something we missed? It seemed like we were, sort of on the road to getting started. What's keeping us from moving forward? And just simply, when I think about sort of closing, in a sale, my final question is usually just simply, is there any reason why we shouldn't move forward now? And let them tell you no or yes, and ultimately, if they say yes, there is a reason why we shouldn't move forward, then it's okay. Well, why? What is it I missed, and how do we address that? But I think you want to get real clear definition from your customer in terms of why, what the gap is in terms of moving forward. So yeah, I think there could be a few variables there.
Wow. This is a great conversation, because it is so clear. It does not only involve planning or having a marketing plan to have fourth quarter success, or to have a great kickoff to the finish line in the fourth quarter, but it takes all the other elements. The mindset is huge, because we're talking about that a lot today. So if I were to recap, we talked about how are we motivating ourselves to make things happen in the fourth quarter. What are the things that we are doing? Are we executing, right? And if we're not, why? So go back, and at the end of the day, it comes down to us, right? Because nobody's going to do it for us. We got to do it for ourselves. Like you said earlier, you have to, whether you're sick or not, you're going to get up and, brush the dust off, and you're going to run with it, whatever it is, because nobody will take care of it. Nobody will inspire or motivate you but you. But one of the things I've heard my mentors in the past tell me, a great way to get motivated is just look into maybe your bank account or your bills that you have to pay, right? And we all know towards the end of the year, shopping time's gonna come. So who's who needs that motivation? Nobody else can motivate you. You got to smack your behind and just keep going, because if not, nobody's going to do it for us. And that's a great conversation.
I'd add something on the positive side there. One of the things I was going to mention earlier is the idea of having an anchor. So one thing that motivates me quite often is to set an audacious vacation a year out. Just go somewhere
Great
wicked.
tip.
I mean, and somewhere that just you're so excited about, so anticipating. And we're all different, but for me anyway, I can work really hard for those rewards, and so having that kind of anchor, that's something that I can sort of focus on. Maybe think of it as a waypoint, but something that allows you to just sort of put the nose down and work hard towards it. And again, we're all going to enjoy different types of rewards, but for me, it's some really crazy fun vacation, and then I'll
you're committed. You're committed. Once
I'll do 50 appointments a month. I don't care. I just want to leave town.
Where are you planning? So you're gonna tell us where you're planning. Maybe we're gonna make you run really hard so that you can go on vacation. So
Sure.
where is the next stop?
South Pacific. Absolutely.
Ooh, Kim, where are you thinking of going, girl? What do you need now that may just inspire and motivate you? What do you need?
You knock down the walls if you have a good anchor. I think the other thing you mentioned mentors. I think having some type of a peer group, anything like that, and some type of accountability group or mastermind group or whatnot is, I think, always a good idea for folks. Just the peer support and accountability are really good.
I'm glad you mentioned the peer support and accountability, because here's what it is, right? Sometimes when we're so busy, people think, oh, I don't need peer support. I don't need a mastermind. I don't need. But they want all that sexy stuff, right? They want the results. They want the vacation. But they know in between that setting up their goals to executing, right? They can just like fall off the wagon like in no time, and it's gonna get tough. It's gonna get rough. There's gonna be ZefZan.Live. That's what people say. ZefZan.Live, tsunami. You'll be tsunamis, and you'll have to have somebody who would just say, you know what? Regardless of whatever challenges that you're going through, you need this to happen because you set that goal. You need some sort of motivation, and nobody's gonna do it for you but you. And it goes on that way. And I think it's important to have peer group, who can help you be accountable to your own goals, and who can add on a little bit of, push right there. Because sometimes I know it's hard to even like, oh my God, I have to get up and shower and go somewhere. No, I'm just kidding. I'm so used to live videos. But the fact is that sometimes you just need somebody to help you. And it's okay to just be accountable for all your goals. You need that, because sometimes we set goals, we don't really keep our eye on the prize. It may be a vacation, it may be a goal watch, whatever, right? But it's hard because when we go through hard times, we just like, so what, right? But if we have a partner who keeps us accountable, right, that makes it so much easier to be inspired and motivated. Like, come on, what song? You need an Ivory Tiger? All right, I'll play that song for you, but you just gotta get up at 5 in the morning, whatever it is. And I think you hit it the right spot right there. How about you, Kim? What's your one tip to probably help get people get going for the fourth quarter before we go?
I'll say it, first of all, show up to fun. If you're not motivated or you're feeling like you're on the crazy train, show up to something fun every day, even if it's a half an hour. And honestly, I like Bill's tips. Figure out what people want to buy. I liked his idea of packaging something in a way that created a sense of urgency. And especially if you're going through a dry spell or you lost momentum, a quick series of successes or people getting excited about you and your product, that's very motivating. It's one thing to be like, oh, I don't know what I want to do and I'm not focused. All of a sudden, boom, the phone rings and someone says, I need you. It's amazing how fast we just like, oh, okay, let me get it and do it. And all of a sudden, you have no problem showing up to the client, and all the crazy stuff is all like somehow getting done by somebody else. So I liked Bill's tip about package something for fast sale. I like that. So I'm gonna hitch my wagon to his star with that one, because I think that's really relevant for some of our people who are either just starting or kind of got lost in life, it's a way to start. And so, and then for you, Zeph, you always say write it down, map it out. So
I'm a mind mapper. Yeah, I am.
yeah,
Because I'm that kind of person because I need to have a map. Like, I want to go to Timbuktu. I need to know what the roadmap looks like, right?
yeah.
Even though
And
it looks.
if some of our listeners are beyond that, they're like, no, I'm already, I'm chugging, I'm making it happen, I'm looking to expand. This is the tip that I would tell you. Like, if now, like the other side of the equation, you've got so much business, you don't know what to do with it all. Make a list of all the hats you're wearing, from CEO to chief bottle washer and janitor.
Mm-hmm.
This helped me to let go because I was always like, oh no, I can do it. Assign a dollar figure. CEO, how much they make an hour. Bookkeeper, how much they make an hour. Marketer, how much they make an hour. Yeah. All the way down to, shining your shoes, what they make an hour. You're going to start to see where you should be. You can work for $10 an hour, but if you're a 100-hour gal, or a 100-hour guy, or like $500 an hour guy, you're going to automatically get motivated to do what Bill is saying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because what would you rather do? Would you rather do a task for $500 and get paid $500, or would you rather do a $10 task and get paid $10? Now, if you're like, no, but I really like doing that $10 task, fine, then go pay somebody to do the $500 task. Because sometimes, you know what, you're not the talent. You're smart enough to go hire the talent. But most of us are that $100, $500 an hour people. Go work one extra hour. Go get one extra client. And because a lot of people say, Kim, I can't afford. I want to hire somebody, I can't afford it. Or I want to let go of the project, but I can't afford it. One client for one hourly rate, and I don't believe in hourly rates, but just like one project, get that one extra, and then use that, or pre-sell like Bill. I loved his idea of pre-selling. Sell it to one person. That gives you the money to go share the money and get somebody else to take some of the load. And that's how I started to grow beyond me, myself, and I. My business clients told me, Kim, it's time for you to let go now. We're all growing. They're like, you need an assistant. And I was really sassy, and I went, really? Really? Go find one that can work with me, that can live with me. And they did. They did. We found somebody. You'll love him. And I did. I hired him.
And I think the fact that, for some of us, we just have to plan. For me, my tip would be just write a process out somewhere, because you know why? Sometimes when you even do the basic roadmap, you know where you're going. Sometimes you may have to tweak it. Maybe you have a congestion somewhere, right? So you will have to basically tweak that roadmap. So do that sometimes, because occasionally you'll have to edit it, and then you'll have to be inspired all over again, because you need that extra fuel to keep on going. So always have some sort of process. We did talk about that last week. Have a process structure that builds your system, then go with it, because when you're ready to delegate, you'll just send that system to somebody and they can do it for you. But we're about 6 minutes away from the end of the show, but I just want to say thank you to Bill, who's been awesome enough with all the points that he has shared, and I know Bill has shared with me a link that he would like to share with the folks who's watching today. I'm going to do a drop in or a share, so I'm going to share it on my screen if I can share. If not, I'm going to drop in the link on the right side in the chat so y'all can check out. Bill, if you could just talk a little bit about this program. It's called Stand Out in 30 Seconds.
Sure, yeah. We've launched a program called Stand Out in 30 Seconds, and what we do is help generally teams up with at least five or more people with either their self-introduction for networking type events or their elevator pitch. So it really could be any industry, any discipline, but helping people better articulate what they do, who they're hoping to meet, what their value proposition is, and so on. So it's a neat program. If you have any questions, maybe you know someone or an organization that this would be a good fit for, we'd love a referral. So that would be great.
And I think,
Do you have a website, Bill, or a place where people can
Yep,
like
I'm
come
gonna
on
drop
part of
it
your
in.
newsletter?
Yep.
Yeah, the website is testmypitch.com. And Zeph, do you want me to put the?
I'm putting it right now.
Oh, you're doing it now.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So this is Bill's website right here. Let me know if you see it on your end, because I'm not seeing it from my end for some reason. I think my computer froze up or whatever. But do you see in the chat that I just dropped it in?
No.
No. Could you do that, Bill? Both links. I'm gonna try it again.
Yeah, sure. It'll just take me a moment.
Yeah.
So just one other quick thought I would add. You know, it's always great. I always learn so much listening. And I guess one of the things that we didn't talk about that seems to me like it would be a good addition to this is if you're looking to sort of jumpstart or restart your business, one of the best places I think to go is your current and past clients. So your current clients may have additional projects as your past clients might. They're also great sources of referrals. So, you know, I think in both cases, you know, making sure that you're keeping in good contact and good relations with those current and past clients. So as they have additional needs or they run across people who could use your service, you come to mind.
That's
I
awesome.
like that.
Very, very awesome. I love that point there. So for all of you guys who are watching us, you know, if you're brand new to the show, we're here Thursdays, 5 p.m. Eastern. And for you who are just new to the platform, be sure to follow us. If you look into your screens, you will see the contact information for Bill, myself, and also Kim's Twitter accounts. You can follow us there, or you can even go to the Twitter links and see our website. But for those who are watching elsewhere, I will put in the link in the live chat if it will go through. If you need to get any information, because like right now Blab is a little bit, you know, messed up in the schedule tab and the replay tab in our profiles, so just go to ZefZan.Live, which is my name, ZefZan, as you can see wherever you're looking in your screen, right, my name, ZefZan.Live, and you'll get all the show information, the schedules for 30 days. Yes, folks, I do plan my shows for 30 days, right? So this is what we're talking about, planning. So we all have to plan for the fourth quarter success. But go to ZefZan.Live. You can get all the information about our live shows, our upcoming shows, and a 30-day calendar for our all 3 shows broadcast. So, Bill, before we go, would you just kind of share information about how to best contact you, how you want people to contact you? Is it just a website, or is there an email?
Yeah, my email is on our site, but it's also, I'll say it, it's Kenny, Kenney, at testmypitch.com.
Got it.
And I tried to paste in the links and they didn't seem to go in the chat for some
That's
reason.
so weird.
So I don't know what's going on there.
It's probably a Blab thing, right? But
It's a Blab
but
thing.
yeah, Blab thing.
Zeph, we should put it in our Facebook too.
Yep.
We can put it there.
Yep. So
And then
whenever
everyone
it
join
is,
our. If you haven't, you probably already are members of the Momentum Tribe. But please, if you like the show and you want to hear more and you want to be able to network with Bill and myself and Zeph and all the other people who really come to the shows regularly, join the Facebook and we'll make sure we have all this information for you.
awesome. And also, just to let you know, because I have been doing a lot of simulcasts for all of my broadcasts, all of my shows. So what we will have a copy of a YouTube video for this show, and it will be also right in here after the show. Give it about 15-20 minutes. I'll put in the link for the show. So for some of you who miss any information because Blab's acting up or whatever, we have our lower thirds that I've created for everybody. You'll get Bill's contact information, you'll get Kim's contact information, and you'll also get my contact information. All the resources that you need to be in touch with us if you have any questions. So feel free to come back next week and join us on another episode of Momentum Tribe Mojo. And next week our show is going to be we haven't done this in a long time, but because in June we figured, we have an extra week in June for Thursday. So next week's show, we're gonna have another case study from the show The Prophet. Remember, we haven't done this in a while, but we're gonna talk about a show from the show, the MSNBC show The Prophet, who the host of the show is Marcus Lemonis, the billionaire. So we're gonna take season 3, episode 11, which was for Blue Jeans Bar. That was a great episode. So come back next week. I'm going. If you go to my profile, ZefZan.Live, there's that link right there. You will have all the links for the upcoming shows. That show for next week will be up in that website. So again, next week we're gonna do season 3, episode 11 of the Blue Jeans Bar of the MSNBC's The Prophet. We're gonna make it a case study because there's so many people out there who are just, who make great examples or case studies, So we'll make a great conversation. I want to say thank you, Bill, for joining us today, for saying yes to be a guest on our show.
Thank you for being with us.
Yes.
My pleasure entirely.
Yes. So be sure you follow everybody here, folks, if you're watching on Blab. All right. And I'm going to drop in the YouTube link. I want to thank you all for supporting us, and be sure to join our Momentum Tribe for extras, exclusives, and other business tips. Until then, we'll see you next week on another episode of the Momentum Tribe Mojo Show. Bye, everybody. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Kim. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Let me see if I can pause this. Pause.
Is it pausing? It's saying still recording. Is it off?
Oh no, it didn't pause. I think it's Blab. I really think it is Blab. So don't worry, we have
going through some growing pains.
Yeah, so I have the video from YouTube. See, I smarten up.
Were you finding sometimes the Blab video wasn't processing? Is that why you do too?
Not only that, because lately Blab has gone a little bit